Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the World Cyber Arena North American Pro Qualifiers. I am TJ Osmond QD Sanders, once again joined by Kevin Monk Dong, and we are just one match away from determining the first player that's going to be joining us at our qualifier finals in June. It is going to be between Amaz and SilentStorm.
Oh, Amaz versus SilentStorm, certainly an interesting one. Amaz, he got second place at ESL Katowice. Meanwhile, SilentStorm did not qualify for ESL Katowice, unfortunately, losing the round of 16. So that's one comparison we can make, but probably not the most fair one because, of course, SilentStorm did win a tournament this year, ESL Legendary Series.
Indeed.
Yeah, so props to him.
Yeah, both these guys have been relatively successful this year. And both these guys had a pretty grueling series thus far today. SilentStorm, of course, you just saw him take out Tides of Time. Amaz took out Dog, actually reversed swept Dog in the first round, went down 2-0. But Dog just couldn't find a win with that freeze mage. And one of the big stories of this match is also SilentStorm bringing Priest and Amaz not having Priest, going with the Control Warrior, the Druid, and the Hunter.
You know, if I had told you going into this group that two players would be bringing Priest to this tournament or into this group, and one of them was not Amaz, would you have really believed me?
No.
Yeah.
I would have slapped you across the face, told you to stop lying to me.
So violent.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. But let us know what you guys think of the matches that have happened so far today. And talk up about the WCA qualifiers across all the games. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, WCA_America. And also you can use the hashtag WCA2015. It's not just Hearthstone that WCA is going to be putting on. It's Heroes of the Storm, Dota 2, as well as Crossfire. So lots of games. Lots of money to be given away across all these events. And, of course, over the next couple weeks, we will be streaming all of the qualifiers for all those different games. So it should be a lot of fun. So let us know what you think, start up some conversations, and we'll be checking those tweets, of course, throughout the day. But we are moments away from jumping into that game between SilentStorm and Amaz. And judging by these guys' lineups, their deck lineups, who would you say has some of the advantage here?
Yeah, I have to say that even just forgetting about the lineups, we have to keep in mind that it did seem like Amaz was building his decks with Dog in mind. He was trying to counter a freeze mage.
It's true. And
especially not only with the deck choices, but also the tech cards such as Ragnaros and Midrange Hunter, which we don't see in 100% of Midrange Hunters. And also Lotheb in Warrior, which just makes the Rogue matchup even better. It makes the Freeze Mage matchup even better. Whereas maybe Lotheb isn't the best choice against the decks that SilentStorm is running, for example. SilentStorm, on the other hand, I feel he made more well-rounded decks. I can't really see a deck that he was targeted against Tides of Time or against Amaz or Dog.
Yeah, so that first matchup is going to be Druid versus Priest, and both these decks are pretty standard. There's a couple of variations of Priests that are running around currently on ladder and in competitive play. The first one being the one we saw earlier, which is the Chinese Priest, the Death Lord with Velen's Chosen. But as we saw in that last game, SilentStorm running a very just vanilla standard version of Priest. Just a Wild Pyromancer, no funny shenanigans, Akanai Soul Priest, Circle of Healing combinations, also with the Light of the Naru. So what are your thoughts on this matchup, that standard Priest versus the mid-range Druid?
I think if you ask Kalento, which I've asked him before, he thinks that this matchup is 50-50. But if you ask Amaz, he actually thinks that the Druid is favored in this matchup.
Okay.
So going to this matchup, I think he'll have a lot of confidence, especially being a prominent Priest player himself. He'll know how to play around the various Priest shenanigans.
Yeah, one of the things that Druids have going for them is that a lot of their creatures are really hard for Priests to deal with. The main ones being Pilot Shredder, Druid of the Claw, Azure Drake. The one thing, though, that you have to worry about is, of course, that Shrinkmeister Cabal Shadow Priest combo, because all of those cards are susceptible.
Yeah, you mentioned that. You mentioned the cards that Priest have to fear is Druid of the Claw and Pilot Shredder, and those are usually early game cards, especially with Innervate. Whereas the cards that Druid has to fear, the combo with Cabal Shadow Priest and Shrinkmeister, it's a very late game card. So what that tells me is that probably Priest is going to be the one on the defensive and trying to answer the Druid threats early on, whereas if it gets to late game, I think Priest will have an advantage.
Yeah, which is funny. The Priest it's basically a reactive deck. They just play reactive for the first, 12 turns or so, until their opponent just runs out of threats, or until they can build up a threat of their own. or make a combo like Cabal, Shadow Priest, Shrinkmeister to build up a board of their own. And once they do that, it's really hard for them to lose control of it because of their spells that just increase the power of their board, like Power Word Shield. They can heal up their creatures to make them trade more efficiently. We saw last game, classes like Rogue, sometimes they just run out of damage.
SilentStorm is going to curve out all right. Fortunately, he didn't have Wild Growth. He doesn't have an Innervate, and he doesn't have a turn 4 play. Meanwhile, SilentStorm, or sorry, the Amaz. SilentStorm, this is probably the best start he can get without an injured Blade Master Circle of Healing play. Usually the Blade Master and Circle of Healing, that's exactly what you want against a Druid. The other option is perhaps coining out an injured Blade Master and then resurrecting it. We've seen that actually being used by Toida and Sea Story Cup, and he used it to great effect. Essentially summoning a 4/7 on turn 3 without the Circle of Healing combo, and it was just insane. It wrecked Druids.
Yeah, it's a little bit of an inconsistent combo, but if it happens, it's nearly a game winner just because, I mean, it summons the injured Blade Master, so 4/7, which if you deal with the first iteration of Blade Master, a lot of times you won't have an answer to the second one, which is full health already.
Yeah, that's true. Like, you think, like, when your opponent coins out a 4/3 and you're like, oh man, that's so great, I have Wrath. But then it comes back as a 4/7, right?
And you go, oh great, I have Wrath and Swipe. And then he resurrects.
And Innervate. And then the second Resurrect comes like, okay, now I'm sad. I guess I lose.
Oh great, I have a Concede button.
Yeah. So that's actually a really great draw, a Circle of Healing, which means SilentStorm can deal with the Shade, but in order to do so, he'll have to sacrifice something.
Yeah.
And it might be the health on the injured Blade Master, looks like.
Yeah. He can...
So he can circle now?
And then heal... Huh.
Oh, okay.
Okay. This is a more consistent way to deal with it. Well, not more consistent, but it's a way that keeps your creatures healthier. Dealing with that Shade when you can be enticing. Like, now at this point, he has to double Circle of Healing to be able to clear it off, if that was a choice. But he also, I mean, he does have... Actually, he doesn't really have any other ways to deal with it.
Yeah, this puts SilentStorm in a really awkward position. Oh, Shadow Madness. Oh, that's actually pretty great.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that is one of the combos. I was thinking of the Shrinkmaster Cabal Shadow Priest, but this is another one of those combos. This is why this deck was one of... I think it was Chalky said it was called Mind Control Priest, just because it runs so many ways to steal your opponent's creatures. Double Shrinkmeister, double Cabal, double Shadow Madness.
Yeah. If this is anything like Kalento's list, the funny thing about it is that it actually doesn't run Mind Control, but it runs like so many cards that are kind of like Mind Control. Yeah. Oh man. So we're getting to that time when it's actually going to be Priest putting on the offensive, because right now the Priest is sitting at 30 health, so he's sitting pretty prettily right now, and he's going to be able to use those combos like Shrinkmaster and Cabal and to take back the game completely.
Yeah, he's almost guaranteed to be able to get a target out of this, because even if he trades his Pod Shredder, which most likely will happen, whatever comes out of it, he'll be able to steal. And if he uses something else, like a Swipe Hero Power to clear it off, then he'll be able to steal it as well with the Shrinkmeister combination. So he's definitely in a powerful position. Amaz does have a good hand, though. Both Ancient of Lores. He has a chance to draw into a lot of bursts. The one thing, though, sometimes it doesn't even matter if you get that burst, because the Priest will just be able to clear your board every turn. Even if you do draw into Force of Nature Savage Roar, it won't be enough.
Hey, look, Echoing Ooze duplicated itself.
One is a lot more sinister than the other.
Yeah, what happened there?
And because of that, he lost his ability to taunt.
Aw, that's unfortunate.
Very sad story.
So that is the story of the Ooze, I guess. Yeah, just standard Druid things. 6 mana Ancient of Lore, why not? Putting more onto the board, so a second Arcanine Soul Priest would be pretty good at this point. Well,
hello there.
So what you could do here, yeah, you can Powered Shield. You can also potentially draw a card before you do the circle, but if you draw a card, that means you won't be able to...
Yeah, I don't think he could do that and finish off the Ancient of Lore, which would not really defeat the purpose, but make the combo a lot less consistent. But yeah, now he's in a pretty good spot. He's seen Swipe. He's got a lot of creatures in his hand. He could basically deal with whatever comes out next turn.
Yeah, he can, but see, the problem is after Dr. Boom is played, Amaz will have an answer, and then SilentStorm is actually running out of cards at this point, whereas Amaz has cards for days because of those two Ancients of Lore. It's going to be really hard at this point for if Amaz is able to answer everything, SilentStorm might just basically run out of everything that he could use. But then we see Thought Steal. That's going to be key.
Great way to replenish his hand. Something you never expect coming out of a Priest is Savage Roar. And he actually sets himself up for a next turn lethal with just the Dr. Boom and the Boom bots.
Wow, so not only do we have two Innervates in Amaz's hand right now, but we have a pseudo Innervate coming from the Emperor Thorzane from a few turns ago. So Big Game Hunter is certainly going to come down, but it's almost as if Amaz had 16 mana now.
Yeah. That's crazy.
The great thing about this board, though, from SilentStorm is that he's seen both swipes being used, so those Boom bots are probably there to stay. The problem is, I guess Lotheb is okay. You kind of want to get the Ragnar's out, but not on this type of board.
Yeah, with the Boom bots out, and unless he... Yeah, it's just not really a great board to rag. Because if you hit the Boom bot, sometimes if a Boom bot hits a rag and then gives him an easier target to just clear off, it can be rough.
Yeah. Oh, this is... Okay, so he's going to...
Yeah, I was going to say, most likely the Keeper is going to be innervated regardless of what play he made.
So yeah, this board is kind of weak to board clears like Holy Nova. And it's also actually weak to the Boom bots that are also on the board as well. SilentStorm can get a pretty good Cabal Shadow Priest with the Keeper of the Grove. But yeah, he's not going to be greedy here. He doesn't feel like he has to save that Shrikmeister for the combo. He probably also has another Shadow Madness in there, so he can always use it for that.
Yeah.
I like just going for this kind of play because it sets up more pressure for your opponent, and you threaten that combo with the Savage Roar.
Wow, without even a second thought here. Ooh. He weaves in the hero power, which is going to put him 1 damage outside of lethal with the Savage Roar.
Very key at this point.
Can he draw into 1 damage with the Thought Steal?
The problem is both swipes have been used.
That's it? Savage Roar and Keeper of the Grove. Oh man, killing him with his own cards.
Yeah, I believe Keeper of the Grove, it might have been one of the only cards left in Amaz's deck that could have done that.
Well, second Savage Roar.
Second Savage Roar, Keeper of the Grove. Druid of the Claw would have been too much mana, and no more swipes. So I would have to say kind of lucky there by SilentStorm. But yeah, I guess a little luck is all you need in order to take the first game of that series.
Yeah, really well played also. But it did come down to the Savage Roar. There was actually not that many cards left in Amaz's deck. He'd been through quite a bit.
Yeah.
He'd drawn both with Ancient Allures. It was getting to pretty late in the game as well. But that Priest is going to be out of the way for SilentStorm. I was about to say the Druid, because usually at the end of a Savage Roar turn, they're like the Druid takes the game with the Savage Roar and the top deck Keeper of the Grove, but it was the Priest.
Well, also it was the Priest that won, and you usually say that Amaz's Priest won. Look at that.
Exactly. It was all just crazy backwards. So Amaz still has Warrior, still has the Druid, still has the Hunter. SilentStorm has to take wins now with his own Druid deck.
Yes.
And he also has the Warlock deck, which he has to take wins with.
Yeah, I have to say, I think both of those decks are pretty good against the rest of Amaz's lineup, especially against Warrior. We saw Warrior was kind of the weak link against Dog. He eventually he lost 2 games with the Warrior against Dog, and in the 3rd game he was going to lose even against Freeze Mage until he top decked Lotheb. So I can see Druid will definitely be very favorable against Warrior. Also, this handlock, I feel like it probably should be favored against Warrior as well, especially the way Amaz built it. Lotheb, it's not the best card against handlock. There are better options like Ysir, for example. I forget if Amaz ran Ysir in that deck. Oh yeah, he did.
He did,
He
yeah.
did. So yeah, that's going to be a key card. So maybe not as bad as I initially thought.
Yeah, this one is going to be Druid versus Druid, though. The old Druid mirror match. And these guys' decks seemed very similar. Nearly identical card for card.
I mean, they both have walled growths and innervates.
They
and
both have
Ancients of
28 out of
Lore.
the 30 Druid cards that everybody runs.
Yeah, I'm kind of a little disappointed at SilentStorm because I know he's kind of famous for hitting #1 legend with his own variant of Druid that had 2 Violet Teachers instead of Pilot Shredders, and it also had a Toshli in the deck.
Yeah.
So kind of like deviating from what's normal, but yeah, both players, they seem to be just running pretty much the same deck. Maybe one has one more Adder Drake. Maybe like Amaz is running one more Zombie Chow, for instance.
Yeah. I think a lot of Druids lately have actually been cutting Zombie Chow from their decks, which is very bold. It's a very bold move. It's basically weakening your matchup against Hunter by quite a bit.
Yeah. Hunter, Mech Mage, and even Zoo.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe one of the reasons that Zombie Chow is maybe not as good anymore, ironically, is that Zoo has been kind of keeping Mech Mage in check. And even though Zombie Chow is very good against Zoo, it's the best card almost that you can get against Mech Mage because not only of turn 1 Zombie Chow, but also because of Mirror Entities. So possibility for why Zombie Chow could be cut. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, Mech Mages have all but disappeared since Zoo started to make its rise in popularity.
Yeah, they're just Zoo and Mech Mage are just very similar decks, and they have very similar matchups. So when Zoo, like in a head-to-head fight, it beats Mech Mage, then you know that Mech Mage is probably kind of diminishing in power and diminishing in the number of uses it has in tournaments.
Yeah, so one of the things about mirror matches is, I always hate to say this, but a lot of mirror matches are draw dependent, especially when the mirror matches are, the cards in the decks are nearly identical. It all depends on who can draw into the crucial threats first. And the good thing about this one is both these guys have had similar starts, and they both have similar hands as well. Emperor Thorsan, neither player is going to get bigger of an advantage with Emperor Thorsan, because both players are going to be able to play it nearly on the same turn. It seems like the first person to play it, though, might have the advantage just because the other one is forced to deal with it.
This is a really awkward board because both players, like, they can't get past each other's taunts. But yeah, just because Amaz has the initiative to play the first Thorsan, and he'll basically force SilentStorm to make the first move and probably make a trade that he's not really willing to trade into otherwise. If Amaz does play the Emperor on this turn, I guess the best response from SilentStorm would maybe be a Savage Roar.
Yeah. And he actually is going to trade here.
Oh,
Okay.
Okay.
So by doing this, he actually does the most work in actually protecting his Emperor Thorsan because he keeps 2 creatures on the board, which means that he won't actually be able to get to the Thorsan because he won't be able to get through both iterations of the Sludge Belcher.
Yeah.
And he'll punish SilentStorm for playing his own Emperor Thorsan. Because if he does, then he won't be able to. He'll have the advantage because he'll be able to get 1 extra turn from it. It'll give him Amaz a chance to remove SilentStorms while keeping his own.
Yeah, there's just 2 big threats on the board right now on Amaz's side, and it's going to be very hard for SilentStorm to deal with them both efficiently. And we can see, like, SilentStorm has to compromise with a somewhat weak play of silencing the Sludge Belcher and giving up his Shade, which gives Amaz a very strong initiative, not only because he will have a lead on board by the end of this turn, but also he was the one that got to use Emperor while his opponent was forced to go for a different, somewhat weaker play.
Yeah, so this gives Amaz sort of a little bit stronger of a board, but it gives SilentStorm initiative, and of course, like you mentioned, having played Emperor Thorsan first, it gives him the opportunity to have bigger turns in the future. It basically gave him like an innervate for like the next 3 turns in exchange for having maybe a slightly stronger board.
Yeah, I could see Lotheb and Wrath certainly being the play here, and after that, you can fit in a hero power. So Amaz will be hoping for something like a 1 HP creature to drop from the board, and
There we
that's
go.
exactly what it is. Yeah, after that, I like the Loath up much better because turn 7 is when Ancient of Lore will probably be coming out, or a possible Emperor because you denied your opponent an Emperor last turn. So definitely Loath up, I think, is the play.
Yeah, for sure. You might think swipe would be a reasonable choice, but like you mentioned, if you swipe here, you're not really building any of your board. And the hero power on the face really doesn't do anything at this stage in the game.
Yeah.
So it'd be near 2 wasted mana. And in this case, you're making a strong board to be able to deal with whatever's going to come out next turn, like the Emperor of Thorsan, which it does.
Yeah, for newer players, what Strifecro actually taught me was like, you basically imagine the board if you use swipe versus imagining the board if you use Loathub. And it's basically a 3-5 plus a 5-5 versus a 2-4 from your opponent. Compared to if you use swipe, it's just a 3-5 on your side of the board.
Yeah.
And you just imagine which board is like, which board do you favor in that scenario? It's going to be the board that has a Loathub on its side.
Yep.
So just even more pressure being put on by Amaz, and that's exactly what you want to do in the matchup. You want to be the Druid that's more aggressive, and not the Druid that's going more for value.
Yeah, Druids don't really have many ways to come back on the board. So usually the Druid that plays defensively and is having to use like spells to try and come back, and especially later in the game when you're playing around combo, the Druid that's having to like throw their creatures in defensively and try and use spells defensively, usually it's the Druid that loses. Such powered plays are possible with the Emperor of Thorsan. I mean, look at that. He's built his board up so big. There's just not many ways that Amaz is going to be able to come back in this one.
I'm a little disappointed here from Amaz. His board isn't as symmetrical as I would like it to be.
No.
You just place that Sledge Belcher 1 to the right. And I don't believe that's it. I don't think there's anything SilentStorm can do from this position. I mean, dealing with 5 minions on the board is kind of a hefty task.
Yep.
So Amaz will take the series, or take this game at least 1-1, and it's gonna be a great series now.
Yeah. This is the second series in a row that's actually we've had a 1-1 start, and this is going to be a little better position for Amaz than he was in that first game. He had to come back from a 2-0 deficit in order to beat Dog, so I'm sure he's happy, maybe a little bit relieved that he can actually play on an even playing field. But Amaz still has Hunter and Warrior left to win with. SilentStorm still has the Warlock as well as that Druid that we just saw.
Yeah, again, I think it's going to be the Warrior that Amaz is going to struggle to get a win off of.
Yeah, for
the
sure.
mid-range Hunter, I think it'll do okay against Druid. A lot of players say that mid-range Hunter is favored. Some people say that Druid is favored, but at least it's close to 50-50. The advantage of the mid-range Hunter will usually be against the handlock matchup, where mid-range Hunter can put up enough pressure on the board that handlock just can't deal with. They'll crumble under the pressure, and then a kill command can finish off the game, just like if you're playing Phase Hunter.
This was a matchup that we saw a whole lot of about, 6 months ago? The mid-range Hunter versus the mid-range Druid.
Yes.
Druid has never really left. There's a lot of classes who have sort of shied away from metas time and time again, but Druid has never left. Mid-range Druid was strong about 6 months ago. It got strong when Control Warrior was really popular, and then after GVG, when Face Hunter started to become popular again, Ramp Druid came back, and now again that we're in this meta, mid-range Druid is back again.
Yeah, I just feel like the core mechanics of Druid, Wall Growth and Innervate, it just gives Druid such power. And the problem is, whenever you introduce neutral cards into the game, if they're slightly vanilla, as in they fit in every deck, usually they're the best in Druid because Druids can Wall Growth them out or Innervate them out.
When everybody has the same cards and you're getting your cards out a turn before everybody else, or 2 turns before everybody else, then usually you'll have the advantage. Druid is one of the classes that sometimes your early plays can just straight up win games. Not a lot of classes have those crazy plays.
Job's done.
Do see a Wild Growth start, but the rest of the hand maybe not so great. Keep of the Grove, usually fantastic against Hunter, but double Savage Roar in your first 6 cards, first 5 cards.
Ouch.
Ouch, indeed.
The hand does improve from SilentStorm, though. So can at least be somewhat happy about that. Companion Leok.
on an empty board.
Yeah, that's probably the middle ground. You don't want Huffer in this matchup. It's not Phase Hunter you're playing, so you want to be more consistent.
Yeah. Yeah, especially on turn 4, Huffer just 4 damage. Unlike Phase Hunter, not really that important. You know it's just going to get Keeper the Grove.
Yeah, unfortunately now for SilentStorm, like this Adra Drake will be able to somewhat contest the Leok. We do have to remember that a freezing trap is on the field though.
Yeah.
And wow, even with the Houndmaster, you can actually just trade into it.
It's a Druid of the Claw that also buffs your other creatures.
How cool.
Yep, Innervate, Ancient of Lore. Seems like a strong play here. There's also merit to using Keeper the Grove if you don't want to take too much damage the following turn.
I can't, even though it's mana inefficient, it doesn't play on curve. I kind of like Wrath Keeper better because you put a minion on the board that you kind of want to get back in your hand. Whereas Ancient of Lore, if you get that freezing trapped and you get it raised up to 9 mana, you're probably never going to play that card again for the rest of your game. This does have some problems filling out the curve though. It's going to be very difficult for Amaz to play something impactful on turn 6 without drawing something.
Yeah, ouch. Zombie Chow as well.
Yeah, it's not the best.
Yeah, can't even utilize the Savage Roars because there's a freezing trap sitting on the board. And if this turn here, as a Sludge Belcher comes down, if the only thing he does is play Zombie Chow and Hero Power, he's giving up a lot of momentum on the board.
What do you think about perhaps just attacking with the Keeper and then just using the Science Bag? I guess he's afraid of Snake Trap.
Yeah.
So if it's actually Snake Trap there and you don't have a swipe, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. But I think if Amaz knew that that trap was Freezing Trap, he would have done that play of returning the Keeper back into his hand.
Yep. I think so as well. And I think that trade there makes it pretty likely that it's Freezing Trap.
Nope. And he even has a swipe now, so I don't think he's going to be that afraid of getting his Keeper freezing. Yeah, exactly. Because he has the insurance of the swipe, he's going to risk it. And he's going to get his Keeper freezing trapped. And that was certainly probably the correct play because there's 2 Eagle Horn Bows in Amaz's hand.
Oh, this is a really clean turn. And Leok on this board is actually pretty good because you can start to pile on the damage here.
Yeah, so when people say that Midrange Hunter is favored in this matchup, this is exactly what they mean. Midrange Hunter has a lot of efficient minions, and they also have Freezing Trap to back that up. And usually when Druids, even though they get Wall Growth on, they can't deal with these efficient minions. They can't deal with Houndmaster, for example. They can't deal with Animal Companions that are kind of like they summon almost 4 mana creatures for 3 mana. And they can't deal with like cards like Hunter's Mark. And we haven't even seen Hunter's Mark being drawn from the Hunter, so if that ever comes on the field, it's going to be dangerous.
And Druid usually is a class that curves out, like with creatures. Like they play Shade, then Paladin Shredder. Usually they're playing a single creature each turn. Or they're dealing with your board and not playing a creature. And so Freezing Trap just, it can counter Innervate plays as well. Like early on, if you have the same reason Sap does. That's why it's risky to make a big Innervate play early on and sort of go all in on one. It's not a very good hand, though.
Yeah. Amaz is somewhat running out of steam, I guess. At this point, he has to play the hand that he got and just go for face. You realize, okay, so Druid's probably going to outvalue me in the long term, but I think he's very happy bringing his opponent down to 10 HP with 2 bows, with an R&B Gal, with an Unleash the Hounds. All he needs to do is either just survive a bit longer or draw into his kill command, and he just has the game, essentially.
Yeah, but if he actually is starting to run out of cards just a little bit, and the cards that he has in his hand are not high impact. Whoa!
Oh.
There's kill command.
Well, speaking of not high impact, we have the kill command, which is probably
lethal.
Yeah, the most high impact card there.
Yeah.
So 7.
7 plus 2 plus hero power. Yeah, I think he does have enough mana. I think that's exactly 16 damage.
Yeah, it is. So Amaz sees it, of course.
Of course, I would hope so. If I see it, anybody should be able to see it. That's the rule.
Don't sell yourself short, TJ. Pretty good player, I've seen.
It's caster math. Oh, thank you. Thank you for calling me a good player. I was just saying the decks I was playing earlier pretty much play themselves. But Amaz with that mid-range hunter is going to take a 2-1 lead over SilentStorm. Amaz is actually 1 win away from getting a plane ticket with his name on it. I hope it would have his name on it.
Yeah.
To Burbank, California to compete in those World Cyber Arena North American Pro Qualifier Finals. I know it's a mouthful, but that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, he's 1 game away, but I think it's going to be a very hard game because, like we said, Warrior, it's going to be the deck that he's going to struggle with getting a win with, especially against SilentStorm's lineup of Druid and
Warlock.
Yeah. Both very hard decks for Warrior to take a game from.
Yeah, he put himself in the best position possible by giving himself 2 chances. Of course, he would have wanted 3 chances, but 2 chances is better than 1 chance. And first matchup is going to be against the Druid of SilentStorm. So this is a tough matchup, but as we've seen just today, that Warrior actually can have a pretty good shot in this matchup.
Yeah, it's certainly winnable, especially after GVG when Pilot Shredders came into the field and Warriors could play actually decent 4-drops in their decks. It became better after Shield Maiden was introduced, and Warriors could actually play decent 6-drops into their decks as well.
Yeah, the Shield Maiden, it did like 2 things against Druid that were actually fantastic. One is gaining health in the mid game, which a lot of times is where Warriors struggle because they're using weapons early on. They're using their health as a resource early on, and it puts themselves at a combo range while also putting a reasonably sized body on the board. And as we both know, that Shield Maiden body is like no other.
Yeah, it's 5 armor.
In more ways than one.
I saw where you're going.
Love me some dwarves. Dwarves. Some maidens. Oh, Wild Growth start once again, but
yeah,
everything else is spells.
Yeah, don't count your chickens before they hatch.
I hate that saying.
I'm sorry.
You want to know why I hate that saying?
Yeah, why? Were you attacked by a chicken
No,
once?
I explained this the other day.
Were you attacked by an egg once?
I explained this the other day. A good farmer would know exactly how many chickens he was going to have hatch. He would be counting his chickens every single day, taking inventory, taking stock of his chickens, making sure his chickens were okay.
Inside their egg embryos?
Yeah, in what world would a farmer not count his chickens before they hatched?
In a world where farmers aren't magical and they can't see inside their eggs.
A layman would not count their chickens before they hatch. That's the answer, Monk.
Okay, so this hand actually turned out to be really bad.
Yep.
So 2 innervates, 2 innervates and 1 walled growth plus all spells, the exact opposite of the hand that you want.
Symmetry.
And wow, so double piloted shredder.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, this is just...
So there's situational cards for days. So the benefit of this hand is that if Millhouse comes out, just Shadowboxer, if Millhouse came out, he could have innervated and swiped.
Great.
Yeah.
He could innervate and swipe anything, but if Millhouse came out, he would have felt better about it.
Yeah. So essentially, like, if Millhouse came out, you would have traded an innervate, 2 swipes, and like part of a wild growth in order to kill that piloted shredder.
Yeah, he would have been able to sleep a little better at night.
Yeah, just a testament to how great pilot shredder is sometimes.
Yeah, but I mean this hand for SilentStorm.
Oh my god, he draws another rat. So I guess SilentStorm can at least find some comfort in the fact that there's no way he can draw worse. Like if he draws a second rat here, we could eat our shoes. But
I've had enough of eating my shoes. Monk, thank you very much. Well, he does draw into the Dr. Boom, so at least he finds a creature. But I mean, at this point, it feels like it's too late. One of the ways that Druids beat Warriors is by playing a lot of creatures on curve, putting on a lot of pressure earlier, forcing the Warrior in a position where they have to play reactively and defensive.
Yeah.
But when the Warrior's on the offensive, it gives them a chance to preserve their board by removing, instead of preserving their health by removing.
It's also not like those innervates are Savage Roar and Force of Nature. Like, those are also situational cards that would be unplayable in the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
But at least they would have some value going to the later stages of the game. Whereas right now, those innervates are probably dead. They're probably honestly going to be used for hero powers, fitting in hero powers in later stages of the game until, unless an Ancient of Lore is drawn in the next few turns.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Amaz just has everything he needs to win right now. He has Death Bite plus Grom. He's already got 10 power on the board, plus he's going to get multiple turns of Emperor Thorson. Just really great stuff. He also has the removal to be able to deal with everything that SilentStorm is going to be able to put out. I just don't know how SilentStorm is going to be able to come back in this match.
Yeah, SilentStorm. Now, I mean, Amaz can even like set up lethal at this point with 10 power on board, a possible Death Spite, and Grom in hand.
Yeah. So developing the Death Bite here seems like the right play. Then you might as well just throw out the Harrison Jones.
Yeah, I don't see many Druids carrying weapons these days.
No, their weapon is their own face. Their weapon is their teeth.
Well, I mean, like, Harrison Jones can take
Ooh.
away Jirax's claws, so
Well, this is fancy.
it is fancy.
He's going to be able to execute both and set up for a next turn lethal. He realizes that, let's try and speed this game up a little bit. 2 Death Bite in his hand. Instead of making that come over 4 turns, he's going to make it come over 3 turns.
Yeah, he's also already seen both swipes and a Wrath, so Amaz can make the read that, yeah, probably SilentStorm probably isn't going to be able to kill these creatures off.
Yeah. And in order to survive, he has to Ancient of Lore for heal. In which case, he's most likely going to lose anyway, because if he does that, he doesn't really have any follow-up plays. I mean, he can Ancient of Lore heal, Innervate, Keeper of the Grove, Hero Power.
I think actually SilentStorm's best move there was Ancient of Lore, and to draw 2 cards into Innervate, second of Ancient Lore, and heal himself.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Or, check out this one. Ancient of Lore for cards, Innervate, Concede.
Okay. That's pretty close to what SilentStorm actually did here. So Amaz will actually take the victory, and he'll be the winner of Group A, and thus win a ticket to the finals of the North American WCA Pro League.
Wow. It is a mouthful. It's really hard to say, but congratulations to Amaz. Of course, one of the 4 players, the first of the 4 players that will be joining us at the beginning of June for that World Cyber Arena North American Pro Qualifier Finals.
Very well said.
Yeah, he played really well. He brought some pretty cool decks. No Priest, which was a little bit surprising here, especially since Priest right now is considered relatively strong with the popularity of Zoo. He brought the mid-range Hunter, he brought the Control Warrior, he brought the mid-range Druid. Just a pretty good, really solid lineup.
Yeah, I feel like I think Amaz actually really deserved this win today because I felt like he did put the most thought into his lineup, where some of the other players, they might have just brought the best decks overall. But Amaz actually really targeted his opponents, especially Dog, and gave him a fairly guaranteed win against Dog, targeting that Freeze Mage with 3 decks that almost could not lose to Freeze Mage by a very large percentage. Then he was able to close it out with against SilentStorm, just playing really solidly, drawing really solidly as well, of course.
Yeah, and Amaz, of course, he's going to have a chance to win quite a bit of money. The prize pool just for the North American Qualifier Final alone is $12,000. That'll be 4 players. The top 2 players from those 4 that are going to be happening in the studio will be going to China in December for the actual World Cyber Arena Finals, which, of course, earlier we talked about. $3.8 million prize pool that is spread across 4 games. That is spread across Crossfire, Dota 2, Heroes of the Storm, as well as Hearthstone. But it's the actual prize pool for Hearthstone alone is going to be more than the BlizzCon World Championship, which is really saying something. So I'm sure Amaz is going to be really preparing hard.
Yeah, I mean, Amaz might be jealous of his Archon teammate. He's like, oh, Firebat, you won so much money in one tournament. I'm going to beat you on that. I'm going to one-up you.
Yeah, I'm sure Firebat is not happy about that. The most prestigious title has less of a prize pool than that, but it's going to be great to see what Amaz is going to be able to do moving forward. Let us know what you guys thought about the games that took place today. Let us know who you're going to be rooting for the rest of the week. So, of course, we have action Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday this week to decide who will join Amaz in that final. Tweet at us with the hashtag WCA2015. And, of course, make sure you follow us at WCA_America. Not only will you get news about Hearthstone, but you'll also get news about the other games that are happening, schedules brackets, casters, any information that you may want to know about the Crossfire tournaments, the Heroes of the Storm tournament, as well as the Dota 2 tournament. And of course, we are going to go to the schedule for the rest of the week. Tomorrow, of course, will be the second group taking place at the same time as today. Firebat, Muzzy, Impact, and Teray. That's going to be a pretty good one.
Yeah, it's going to be two players that have won recent tournaments, Firebat winning Gfinity, Muzzy winning Pinnacle 4, compared to two players that they were regarded as really good before, but they haven't had that much of an impact on the scene lately. In fact, Impact, he won one of Chanman's tournaments. I forgot what it was called, but since then he really hasn't had a break. Whereas Teray, he did really well at the World Championships. He played really well. I was really impressed. But since then, he hasn't really, again, made an impact. He tried to play in the Root Conquest tournament, but unfortunately, he went out 0-4 in the first round against Life Coach, I believe. So
yeah,
not doing so well lately. But again, they'll have a chance to prove themselves in Group B.
Yeah, definitely. I'm really looking forward to seeing what's going to happen in Group B. Also really looking forward to see what's going to happen the rest of the week. But that's going to do it here from us, from me and from Monk for the World Cyber and North American Qualifiers. Again, we'll be back tomorrow at the same time and for Wednesday and Thursday at the same time. But again, congratulations to Amaz. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.